How can campaigns be engaging while also civil? It's a difficult balance our roundtable has looked into. Joining me today are Alana Rocha from the Texas Tribune and Bob Garrett from the Dallas Morning News. Thank you for joining us, both of you.
Thanks for having us.
So how nasty is this campaign for governor getting on both sides?
Well, I think you can see that just through social media, both of the camp supporters bashing the other opponent, and how those campaigns are handling that can be a little tricky. Talking with different analysts, they're learning as they go, but they need to be a little step ahead of the rest of us users, just because it can hurt them.
Yeah, you wrote an article this week about how this has been affecting this campaign season. You know, is it really severe when it comes to some of those supporters? I think that there have been some threats made, right?
There is one in particular that was made towards Davis, referencing that if she, in the off chance if she did win in November, that there would be a 50 caliber headache waiting for her. And with that comment, Dave Carney, Abbott's chief campaign strategist, said that they removed it from the Facebook page, Abbott's Facebook page, and did alert DPS to it, and DPS wouldn't confirm because of the security nature of it whether they were investigating or not, but we did confirm with the Abbott's campaign at least that they were looking into it.
Any indication that this kind of thing...
I didn't do it, I want to say that.
Well, there you go.
I'll help DPS.
Does this kind of thing happen? I mean, is it anything new we've not seen in other campaign seasons?
No, I think it's increasingly the anonymity of the internet just emboldens people to do things they wouldn't do face to face. I think that was a point one of your people said in your story. And you know, we all know campaigns have these bots, these paid young people that just are watching social media all the time and putting out stuff to attack the other candidate. So they are, complicit in this, I think, because they want to stir it up.
So who gets hurt in that social media instance? Is it Abbott's campaign or Davis's campaign?
It just depends how the comments are handled. A while back, I believe Abbott replied to a supporter on Twitter who said that they were supporting Abbott, but then also called Davis a derogatory name, and by Abbott replying, "Thank you for your support," it implied that he agreed with the derogatory name that Davis was called. So it's just interesting. One of the analysts I spoke with for that article also said, right now we're several months out from Election Day. And while, we don't know the outcome, the campaigns themselves will attack each other. But, if it does seem that one of them pulls ahead and that candidate doesn't feel like that they no longer need to attack the opponent, that's not necessarily true for supporters. They have nothing to lose. And as Bob said, I mean, they're anonymous largely and whatnot.
Obviously, both candidates are not in the May runoff, so there's like more than 220 days for them to campaign ahead of the general. Is this about as nasty as it's going to get, Bob?
Oh, no, I think it'll get worse. But, I mean, you look at so far, Davis had stumbled out of the gate with details of her biography, but now Abbott with Ted Nugent and now this equal pay thing that he can't seem to, clearly get behind him, he seems to be stumbling himself.
Yeah, it seems like it's one thing right after the other. We don't really hear too much about Ted Nugent anymore, because we got this equal pay thing going on. Kind of explain to me what that is exactly.
Well, equal pay, it's been an issue really since last session. The bill successfully passed. Lilly Ledbetter Act would have established state law mirroring the federal act, which would have allowed women who had discriminatory paychecks. It would have mirrored the statute of limitations, as well as let these women fight their cases in state court closer to home rather than going to a federal court. It passed both chambers' bipartisan support, and then Governor Perry vetoed it, and it's been a real talking point for Senator Davis, and the issue has only lingered because of what you might say the fumbled response by Republican women, largely the GOP executive director, as well as a new Red State Women Political Action Committee, and their wording and how it goes, calling that women are too busy to fight these issues, and the answer is really more access to jobs and higher ed.
We know Perry's outcome with that particular piece of legislation. Abbott has said something similar, correct?
Correct, yeah. I mean, the fascinating thing at last year's session was that Perry's veto came with no warning and out of the blue. There had been some private communications with Macy's, a few other big retailers, I believe, had written him saying, please don't let this bill pass. So now we see it coming back with gale force, and the Abbott folks do not, and these are their surrogates that we're talking about, that Alana's talking about. Essentially, the same guys that have done a lot of outside efforts for Rick Perry in the past, Mike Toomey and Dave Carney, have their fingerprints all over this, because Mike Toomey's lobby partner, Laura Keel, is involved with the Red State Women, and you know, it has all of the fingerprints of an Abbott operation, but it looks like it's botched.
So with that easy comparison with the 1 point between Perry and Abbott, do you think that there will be more comparisons between that old, you know, style of everything and what Abbott hopes to accomplish with his campaign?
Well, I think Abbott has wanted to be a new brand, right? I mean, it may be a lot of the same conservative policies Rick Perry has been using for, what, is it going to be 14, 12 years, however many years, I lose count. But obviously, Abbott has wanted to be a new, fresh start, and I don't know that you get there using the same guys Rick Perry had.
And the fact that, you know, Democrats are really trying to put a focus in Texas right now, is that making this campaign season, you know, even nastier?
As far as battleground?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, I mean, you could say that. It's just interesting to see how it shakes out, and the fact that this issue, you know, takes Wendy Davis on having to talk about, you know, it's a women's issue that she wants to talk about. You know, it's no longer the filibuster that she's tried to get away from as far as identifying herself as, you know, with the abortion issue and whatnot. So I think it's only a matter of time, you know, just having that extra force behind the Democrats here in the state.
Well, before we get to the general, we have the primary runoff, and the lieutenant governor race is the one that we're all kind of, you know, waiting to see what's going to happen. Do you think that there will be some of this kind of play in that race ahead of May?
Do you mean negativity or
negativity?
Comparisons,
yes.
Contrast? You can bet on that, Josh, because, you know, David Dewhurst has got to try to change the dynamic and redefine Dan Patrick to a primary electorate that many of those who turn out are very hardcore, staunch conservatives who may already have decided that Dan Patrick is the new Ted Cruz.
Yeah, and that's another easy comparison. Do you think that, you know, we're going to see that grassroots support swell, and will this kind of nasty campaigning be among that group?
For Dan Patrick?
Yes.
Oh, I think absolutely. And, you know, I mean, just this week alone, you know, there were 3 opportunities for the 2 men to match up, and there'll only be one that happens because Dan Patrick, the first one he declined because the event, even though when he agreed to it, knew it wouldn't be open to the public, and the whole issue of transparency declined attending that. Another one, he said it was a scheduling conflict, and so the 2 men will only match up one time this week. And Dan Patrick, you know, can maybe get away without having to put himself out there, you know, because of the strong numbers, the amount of people who in the primary said they want somebody other than David Dewhurst.
All right, well, thank you guys for being with us. I appreciate it. In addition to all of the statewide races, voters will also have a chance to voice their opinions on some local issues ahead of the big change in Austin that will change how you vote and how your city operates.